Hi, I'm Greg Watkins, Executive Director of the British Chamber of Commerce, Thailand. 2021 is BCCT's 75th anniversary. And one of the things we're doing is reaching out and reconnecting with some of the people who made BCCT what it is today. And it's my great pleasure to introduce today David Kelham. David joined the BCCT board in 1995 and he became Vice Chairman in 1997. And during his time in Thailand, he was General Manager of the Allied Walker business, which became Allied Domec. So David, a very, very warm welcome. Tell us a little bit about your time on the BCCT board.
Well, it was interesting hearing you quote the dates there. I mean, it was BCCT was a lifeline really for me because I came out as the first and only expatriate into the old Allied business. They'd just bought their previous distributor, so linking up with other UK orientated businesses was very important for me to get a handle on this, because it was my first posting into a spirits business, certainly my first posting overseas, and so it really did help orientate me. So I was a keen member from my arrival in '94, and obviously, as you say, stepped up in '95. I think Brian was chair then. I was thinking about him the other day. Lovely man. Sadly gone from us now.
Yes, it passed away about 10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. My principal memory of those meetings and sitting around the boardroom table were of laughter, because he had a great sense of humour, and I don't know whether it's because the age of the internet had just barely dawned by then. It was there always seemed to be more time, and there seemed to be time and opportunity to slip down to for a drink afterwards, or it was both fun, but there was still an era of fast growth, because having come out of straight out of the UK in the early '90s, which wasn't terribly exciting economic wise. I mean, being in an environment like Thailand where literally you could stand and look out the window and things would change, that was so energizing. But BCCT helped me stay the pace.
Do you have an enduring memory of your time on the board?
Certainly, I think lucky enough to get onto the trade missions that we ran. I was always hands up for that, whether we did some internally within Thailand, but lucky enough to get to Phnom Penh. Still, I think the Khmer Rouge had just about been wiped out by then. That very, very different, very strange environment being in Phnom Penh then. I remember going for a jog, which was not the best thing to do, perhaps, and getting poked by an AK-47, which was there you go. And also in Myanmar, there was a brief period when the generals were persona grata, and there was an expectation that things might open up, and then they went back into being not acceptable again. But it was I remember some again quite strange meetings, but on the basis that you've got to talk to people if you're going to change their minds. But that was quite memorable there. Yeah, and of course, back in Bangkok, getting involved in things like the Planchet Fair, which was in the grounds of the old embassy, quite a memorable event. And I know you're still very much involved in charitable affairs, aren't you? Yeah.
What's your sense of how Thailand has changed in the 20 plus years since you left?
Yeah, I mean that is a very good question. I mean, distant was the word that came to mind. I mean, I have been back. I'm not a frequent visitor, but I have had cause to be back on business. And indeed, I actually served as a worked with the old BTI as a trade ambassador as a part-time gig. So I went out with a couple of trade missions. That was probably towards sort of the early 2000s. But distant in the sense that clearly politically things changed and got quite heated since I left. You've obviously been there and lived through all of that, and obviously things have changed dramatically given that pace of change I was talking about economically. So I can't say that I'm as close to where they are, and I sense that things have moved perhaps a little further away from it being close to where we are. But hopefully that can change again.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing these days, what you've been doing since you left Thailand and what you're up to now.
Yeah, well, saying having sort of had those trade links, that's when I first moved out of the drinks business, which is what I was obviously with Thailand there, then came back and ended up working for Eric Jelinek's brother, who used to run a big chunk of Coca-Cola over here. So he heard I was coming back and interviewed me. So I walked straight into a job with Coke, which was great, something a bit different, but didn't really suit. So I decided that Thailand had spoiled me for corporate life. So I've been in executive search ever since. So I've been running my own business from here in Warwick for 15 years. Also, that's taken me to Thailand. I'm working with a predictive index, which is an American psychometric tool. You may recall I actually did a workshop for the BCCT when I came out on one of those trips. Interestingly, Tom Sorensen, who you will know, I guess, he and I are members of the same PI associate partnership, so I still see him on calls, which is quite nice. But yeah, the business still rolls on, and we've had a servicing of the drinks industry, but we're part of a network called NPA, so we do quite a lot of work in the States as well, which has been a lifeline really through the current COVID epidemic. They've kept busy when we've been quiet.
David, what's your sense of Thailand's role in the post-COVID world? What are the opportunities and threats out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, having sort of said that, it's drifted a little from me and in the broader sense of us in the UK. I mean, the hope is obviously post-Brexit, and with perhaps China being less of the friend that David Cameron tried to make them, that Thailand can really play a role. I mentioned that I'd had some links with education, and around Warwick in particular, we had a very large number of Thais who would come and to the university here. And hopefully, in the absence of perhaps so many Chinese students, we'll get a lot more Thais coming back once COVID is put back in its box. So a little bit more over here, and certainly as Britain looks for friends outside of Europe, the links with the Asia Pacific region have been mooted. So I really hope that we can once again reach out and grasp hands and make something happen out there. So that would be the hope for me, that they play an ever increasing role, not just in their own backyard, but helping us make an entry there.
The last question, David. Tell us what's your favourite place in Thailand and what's your favourite thing to do?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough, I think just before we left, to spend some time up at the Regent in Chiang Mai, which had literally just opened. I think we were probably there was only about 3 or 4 of us there, but I remember we just had our second child and looking out from balcony over paddy fields and water buffalo, and that is one of the enduring memories of Thailand. So that was a very special time. But more prosaically, I mean, you can't beat sitting in the sala at the British Club with a gunner and a pad thai, which was brunch on many a Saturday after a big Friday night. But I did sort of notice on the I don't know whether you can see that. It's a strange thing. This has been sitting on my desk and it sort of became part of the furniture. Yeah. But this is, you might even be able to read the plaque.
Yeah.
But one of one of the things that was a great honour as part of the BCT board was Remembrance Day. And just after they'd reopened a stretch of the railway up at on the quay there, a Hellfire Corner, I think, I was lucky enough to go up to the service in Kanchanaburi and picked up this piece of the actual railway. It was an authenticated souvenir and just chip it out the ground. But that's very much bittersweet memories of that particular part of the world.
Do you think you'll be coming out here again at some stage? Would you like to?
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely sure. Yeah, we've middle daughter was born there, and we've taken her back once, but now they're able to sort of paddle their own canoe. The plan is to meet up out there again. Yeah, so we'll see you back in the British Club for a beer probably.
That's a date, and it'll be lovely to see you again. And thanks for your time today, David. It's been great catching up, and we'll see you again. Hopefully, not in the not too distant future. Either me going to UK or you coming here.
Indeed, so yeah. Do look us up. All the very best to you.
All the best to your family. Thanks, David.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.